if anybody out there is going through the same thing right now, but I cannot stop thinking about Dexter Resurrection. This show surprised me in so many freaking ways, and when I first heard about it, I heard about Michael C. Hall coming back, especially after everything that happened with New Blood. I was on the fence about it, and then Dexter Original Sin kind of roped me back in because I really liked that show, and I do want to talk a little bit more about that. But you have Dexter coming back in the big city, and then I saw the cast coming together. You have Neil Patrick Harris, Uma Thurman, Peter Dinklage, you have David Dashmal, like all of these people were cast, and I remember seeing that and just kind of feeling like this is too good to be true. But it wasn't. It was amazing, and now I'm asking myself, what next? So what is up, my friends? My name is Danny. Welcome back to Jones Vibes. Today, I just wanted to rant a little bit because I got done with this show probably about, 2 weeks ago now was the finale, and I have not stopped thinking about it. Dexter Resurrection has been on my mind in some shape or form every single day since watching it. I've been all over TikTok watching as many theories about the New York Ripper as I can and trying to guess who it is. I'm just all the way back when it comes to Dexter, and again, I didn't expect that going into this season. As for my history with the show, I really haven't talked about it too much here on the channel. I did cover New Blood when it came out. I did not cover Original Sin, but I am a massive fan of the original series, specifically the first 4 seasons. I feel like those first 4 seasons were doing something that television just wasn't doing at the time. This was actually before Breaking Bad. And you had this really unique character with really unique subject matter with a very unique backdrop coming from Miami. I think that's a very cool thing to watch, and especially in those first 2 seasons, you can almost feel the humidity on your skin. It's just rich and it's oozing culture, and I don't know, there's something really, really special about it. But also, the very first episode of Dexter, when he says, "Tonight's the night," and you finally see him kill somebody, you're like, oh my god, I am so on board with this. And then, as the show goes on, there are a lot of twists and turns. They tried to stay relevant. They tried to do what they could. I've read up on a bit of the history when it comes to the transition between season 4 and season 5, and then just kind of what happened as the show went on. I know that there's some drama with Clyde Phillips, and then now Clyde Phillips is back, and it's a very awesome thing. But I think the thing that everybody remembers is the ending. No matter what happens to a show, even if the show isn't the best at the time, if they can stick the landing, you still come out on the other end feeling good about it. Like the opposite version of that would be Game of Thrones, right? You loved Game of Thrones as you were going through it. Some people might like the ending. I don't hate on it as much as a lot of people do, but you still do get to the ending and you feel a bit underwhelmed. And then when you think back on the show, when you think back on Game of Thrones, you're like, okay, this is something that kind of happened with Dexter, but it was the worst of both worlds there. Like the show progressively kind of just plateaued, if not sort of went in a downward trajectory, and then the ending was strange. I honestly can't recall where my head was at the time. I think that I wanted Dexter either to die or for Dexter to get arrested. Like that's sort of the natural progression of the story. You feel like that's where it's going. But as time goes on in that show, like you lose LaGuardia, you end up losing Deb. It gets a little bit funky. So then when I heard that they were coming out with New Blood, I got freaking amped up because I was like, okay, this time they can make a few more seasons and end it properly. You know what I mean? Give us a proper send-off for the character. And then what happened at the end of New Blood was the most shocking and disappointing things. That was more disappointing to me than the ending of season 8. And I don't know if you guys are with me on that. Truly, I loved New Blood. I loved where it was going. It felt a little bit, rushed. The pace was really quick, but I love Clancy Brown as an actor. I thought he was such a fun addition to just the show in general. I also really liked the addition of Harrison. He got ragged on a lot throughout that entire season, and his character, I guess, wasn't fully developed. Like, that's where we were at, and it was very much just an introduction to grown-up Harrison, but I love that they brought him into the fold. And so then, when you get to the ending and he shoots Dexter, You thought a couple different things. You're like, okay, so now are we going to follow Harrison, and is Harrison just going to be the new Dexter? Because truly, and it's no offense to the kid who plays Harrison, what's his name? Jack Alcott. I got it. I didn't look it up. I did. I looked it up. But there's just no way that you can replace Michael C. Hall. And Michael C. Hall is still relatively young. You know what I mean? And so that's what I was thinking about with New Blood, being like, damn, dude, we could get like 5 more seasons of this. This is exciting. The ending was shocking, but then they revealed some plans. They revealed plans for this new show, Dexter Resurrection. They also had Dexter Original Sin, which, just to kind of sidebar on that for a second, super lame that they canceled that. They like renewed it and then they canceled it. That really pissed me off because I absolutely was loving Original Sin. The cast was so on point. I love Christian Slater in that role as Harry. Like, it was a lot of fun. I felt like they nailed the vibe that Dexter's really going for, and there was so much more of a story to tell with Dexter and Brian, even though we know how they kind of come together in season 1, and so they can't technically meet throughout Original Sin. You just got this really fun feeling like they were both going to be operating in the shadows within Miami, and it might end up adding something to season 1 that we didn't have prior. Like, I was really excited about. I can't believe that they canceled it. Really pissed me off, but anyway, I digress. Moving on to Dexter Resurrection, I think that the fact that they weren't trying to make any more seasons after New Blood meant that the explanation was going to feel strange no matter what. Like, oh, I got shot in the heart in the snow, and so, you know what I mean? I was so frozen that I didn't die. It's like, well, okay, I'm gonna go with it because I love you, Dex. And that's the thing about it. You just have to go with it, and luckily, it's good enough to just go with it. And bringing in Batista, bringing in Angel, he's one of the most beloved characters from the original show. And that right there is just compelling shit. Compelling in a way that Dokes wasn't even compelling. Like, I love Dokes, and he's had this crazy resurgence over the year just because of the surprise motherfucker, like all that stuff. But Angel as a character is somebody that you deeply care for. Like, I love that character. I love David Zayas. I love his story arc. He's just great. And the fact that he is on to Dexter is very emotional because they were truly friends. Like, Angel is somebody that he never suspected Dexter was doing any of this. And so having him in the mix just adds an old school element to this new school type show that felt right. And I think just even in that first episode alone, you get more of a Dexter feeling than you possibly ever got in New Blood. I think also the fact that they brought back James as Harry Morgan, dude, like, bringing back the visions and the dialogue with Harry adds so much to this freaking show. And so you have Dexter surviving, he's going to New York City, and it felt like a proper build-up before we got there, and I was excited. I was kind of eager to get there, and then you're introduced to all of these different serial killers. I thought the way that they went about that, you have the rideshare, dark passenger, that whole thing, and then you have just this weird plot of like this meeting of serial killers that have all of these kind of big names coming into the fold, and as a Dexter fan, you're just kind of sitting there salivating because you're looking at all of these actors that you love and that you know, and you're like, damn, dude, all of these people are probably gonna be on Dexter's table at some point. Like, that shit was night and day for me to anything that I've seen Dexter-wise since season 4. And I think that's really the biggest realization that I've had since watching Resurrection, is that this is my favorite Dexter since Dexter season 4. And I just never thought that that was going to be possible again. And it makes you feel so confident and excited, but at the same time, I am scared shitless that they are going to not greenlight a second season of this, and we're just gonna be left heartbroken and unable to see all of this stuff play out. You know what I mean? I mean, you have to imagine that they're getting the viewership. You have to imagine that people are tuning in. I've seen a lot of conversation about this show, much more than Original Sin online. And so that's exciting. And there was a lot to offer within this show. And they definitely left a lot of loose threads out there. And so it's a beautiful thing, but again, it's kind of a scary thing. But I do kind of want to ask you guys, like, what was your favorite scene throughout Dexter Resurrection? Because there truly was a couple turning points for me. I was having a great time throughout the show, but I did feel like at any time it could take a turn for the worse. For me, the moment in the wherever they were with Prater, with that meeting, and they're at like the castle or whatever that estate was, and Dexter is outside talking to the other twin. And I think just the Gemini stuff alone is worth like an entire season, but just the fact that he got the Gemini to his apartment, and then he did the whole trickery with the glass, and then he ended up getting him, that was so much. But then the plot twist at the end of that episode with the other twin getting on the helicopter, I was like, oh my god, what is happening? And then the next freaking episode, when he's sitting out there and he's talking about phantom feelings with twins, and he's like, did you feel anything last night around whatever it was, 8 o'clock? Like, that was one of the coolest Dexter scenes that I've ever seen, man. Like, the look on, you know, and you do have a high caliber actor in David Dashmalshin playing this up, you know what I mean? But the look that he has, like seeing a serial killer go ghost white, being like, oh my god, you know what I mean? And it quickly turns to rage, and Dexter just pulls it off. Like, he handles himself. That's the type of stuff throughout this entire season of Resurrection that just, it made you feel like there is an entirely new set of rules, and the possibilities for the character are absolutely endless. There was a lot of stuff that happened with Harrison as well. They gave so much more to his character than they did in New Blood. Like, that starts with the first episode of him taking the toilet, whatever, you know, the back of the toilet and hitting the guy over the head. Like, that is something that we didn't really get to see out of Harrison in New Blood, and what I want the most is to see Harrison's progression, because I loved what they did with his character in this. They also left a lot of unanswered questions with him, like, is he kind of like Dexter? Is he much more like Dexter than they thought? Because at first, we thought that he was exactly like Dexter, and then it was like, oh no, he's clearly not anything like Dexter. But now it kind of is going the other way, because he does have these rage issues, and so where is all of that gonna go? And you also have so many other characters involved now. You still do have the detectives that are a part of New York, the one that's looking for the New York Ripper. I would probably say, just if I had to pick like a least favorite character, it probably would be the detective woman who's just doing the Boondock Saints riff thing the entire time. The minute that she put on her headphones and she was doing the little dance with the music, like, I don't know, Boondock Saints is one of my favorite movies, so I was like, are we really, is this a nod to Boondock Saints, or is this just like laziness, you know what I mean? But we still do have those two in the fold. We still have Quinn, we still have Masuka, we still have Aster and Cody, which they just like never reference, but I feel like they gotta bring them back. There's just so much more to unpack, and there's so many more things for Dexter to get caught up in that I still do feel like they're gonna be able to pull from the previous shows to kind of give that nostalgia to the fans while operating in the similar way that this season did, just like giving us a whole new thing to be a part of. So it's really freaking cool to be back, and back with practically a lot of the same people that were involved in season 1, you know what I mean? So these are the people that know how to make it feel special. They brought back Brian, they brought back the Trinity Killer. Like, it was so cool to see them. But then also you have all of these new faces like Kristen Ritter, who could potentially come back, by the way. I don't know if I believe that suicide, that jail cell suicide, but anyway, Neil Patrick Harris, I absolutely loved that addition. And then most of all, really, like, the end-all villain of the season was Peter Dinklage, and I loved what they did with him and Uma Thurman. I liked that relationship. I liked how they utilized Uma Thurman when it came to her and Dexter both kind of simultaneously like trying to blackmail each other, you know what I mean? But just having Peter Dinklage be on the table at the very end of it, you could tell that he was just having such a freaking good time. Like, that guy is such an amazing actor, but he really, it just felt like he was giving it a little bit of extra sauce in this season, because it's a performance that you immediately want to go back to and watch again. I want to watch this entire season again, you know? I made this video really just in the hopes of ranting for a while and talking about how much I love this season. I didn't script any of this out just because I've been thinking about Dexter Resurrection so much, guys. And so I do want to hear from you. Like, do you have any theories about where this is going to go? Have you heard anything about season 2 getting greenlit? If they were to go any direction with the plot from here, obvious stuff aside, like New York Ripper and things like that, like if they were to go in any sort of direction like Masuka or Quinn or Aster, Cody, that kind of stuff, what do you think's going to happen? I would love to see some theories down in the comments section, because that's the fun of all this. And assuming that it does get a season 2, it's going to be a lot of fun speculating about where they're going to go. And then when we get there, hopefully it should just be a blast, because the entire same team is probably going from this to that, and they know what they're doing at this point. Dexter's in New York, and we're about to have a lot of fun, and we actually get to spend some time with these characters. Personally, I'm hoping for like 5 seasons. Like, I feel like 4 or 5 seasons, tie up all the loose strings, finish it up, boom, we're good. But hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Leave all your thoughts down in the comments section. But more than anything, my friends, I hope you're out there and you're keeping up the good vibes. I will see you in the next video. Peace!